7 o'clock, we had an RDA scheduled for 44 Hartford Ave, placement of fill, construction of garage and shed. Could Mary or Grace read the public notice, please?
Notice is hereby given in accordance with the Wetlands Protection Act that the Conservation Commission will hold the following public hearing on Wednesday, March 13th, 2024, 7 p.m. RDA filed by John Johnson for the placement of fill, construction of a new garage and shed, and the repaving of the driveway at 44 Hartford Ave North.
Okay, great, thanks. I see you're on, John. Do you want to describe your project to us, please?
Yes, can you hear me?
Can, yes.
Okay.
That's good.
The house that I'm living in now at 44 Hartford Ave, I decided to build a garage in the rear part of the property. The rear part of the property was sloping towards the woods, towards the rear of the property. My intention was to level the property so the garage would be level, have room for a shed and my driveway. So when I started the project, that's exactly what I did.
Yeah, so this shows kind of the before picture of the property.
Mm-hmm.
The backyard back here. And I think these two lines are the difference. So this is the pre-existing backyard, and this longer line shows how far the fill went. And this shows the new configuration with a new garage and shed and expanded driveway. And this is an after the fact filing. I can just pull up my report. So there's a steep slope in the rear of the property, and Mr. Johnson put in a fair bit of fill to make a flat area to create his driveway and a place for his shed. The wetland is in the rear of the property.
Mary, you're frozen.
Right. We all still here, except Mary?
Yep, I'm here.
Okay, John, are you
Yes,
here?
I am here.
Okay, thanks.
I'm here too.
Well, give Mary a few minutes to get back on, but I think we've probably seen enough to understand what happened. And I mean, are there any questions from the commission on this after the fact filing? Hearing none, I would move to issue a oh gosh, -2, is it? I don't have the form in front of me, but a negative determination. Any discussion on that? Or a second, please?
Second.
Okay, any discussion? Okay, hearing none, we Commission, Mary, and Grace will issue, and John, there is your negative determination for this, which means you don't need to file a notice of intent. You're all set to go. Do you have any questions?
No. I noticed in the report that you would want some bounds out back
In
in Mary's report.
Yeah. I don't know, how's the commission feel about bounds?
I wouldn't mind waiting till Mary gets back on and hear what her recommendations were. We didn't get to hear everything she was saying anyway, so once she gets on, I just,
Well, let's, I make a suggestion, we close the hearing and then John, when Mary gets back on, we can have a discussion about bounds. We occasionally do bounds when there's a request for determination, but we're more likely to do those when it's actual, a notice of intent is filed.
Okay,
We can get Mary's recommendation on bounds. What is, are you okay if we require some bounds?
absolutely.
Okay, all right. Okay, so, there's motion, it's been seconded to close the hearing and issue a negative determination. Voice vote, please.
I.
Alan, aye.
Sandy, I.
Chris, I.
Mike, aye.
Marcella, I.
Okay, think that's everybody. All right, okay, thanks, John.
Thank you very much.
Mary will be talking with you.
Very
Good
good.
evening.
You too.
All right, so, it's not quite 7:30 yet. We have a, enforcement order to discuss at Maple Ave.
Mike?
Fire pit.
I have Mary on the phone right now, and she
Okay.
said that she can hear everyone. Everyone just can't hear her, so I could try and put it on speaker and we could try doing it that way.
Sure.
Sounds like a plan.
All right, Mary, can you hear?
Mhm,
Okay, you're very faint.
Grace, could you ask Mary to just call in the phone number?
Sure.
Do you have authority to add her as a panelist?
If she granted it for the specific meeting, I should.
Okay, well, let's,
All right, can you guys hear me now?
yes.
Very good. Uh-oh, there's an echo though.
No, we
We're
don't hear
not
an echo
hearing it.
here. Mary, you there?
All right, I just turned off my speaker. Now are we okay?
Fine. Yep.
All right, this works, I guess, kind of.
Oh, man. We definitely, before this meeting ends, we need to discuss whether we want to go to a hybrid meeting.
Yeah.
I think the spirits are guiding us in that direction.
They appear to be. They appear to be. So we've got a few more minutes to the Maple Ave discussion. Why don't we administrative report, Grace? Do you have a couple things we could go over in the next couple minutes?
Oh, maybe I need to allow Grace to share.
We need to approve the last meeting minutes from February 28th.
Okay, is there a motion to approve the minutes?
So moved.
Is there a second?
I second that.
Okay, so
Second,
motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none, voice vote, Mike, aye.
I.
Chris,
Alan, aye.
Sandy, I.
Marcella, I.
Dave? You-
I'm not sure that Dave is quite in yet. Maybe he can write in the chat.
You can see his name and that he's muted, but that's, don't see his video. Okay, well, that was by majority vote. Anyway, okay, anything else, Grace? Do you have some vouchers?
We have a few sets of expenses to approve.
Just for information, the 110 for me was for recording the order conditions for the Robertson Bridge project. It's $105 to record it and $5 for parking. Are there any other questions about this
No.
voucher? All right, so
I
entertain
move
a
that-
motion.
What was the $7,500? What was that?
For this.
Back, go, 75. So
What if services
That was
rendered?
Th- this
the
is for the,
appraisal.
the Lake Wildwood appraisal.
Okay, all right. I just didn't know what it was for.
And then that I think that's, I don't know if it's been circulated to everybody, but the appraisal is was completed and we have it in hand. Bill will be talking about it later, I'm sure. Okay, so motion to approve this voucher.
Motion to approve the bills.
So moved.
All right, Mike, I'll vote aye, except I'll abstain on the $110 item.
Tom, I.
Chris, I.
Sandy, I.
Alan, I.
David, I.
Marcella, I.
All right, thanks. I think that's everybody. All right, thanks, Grace. So we're now at,
I just have a balance to show to you, Mike.
oh, okay.
Here's our balance.
So Landvest will come out of the conservation fund, so that'll, correct? I believe that's the case, right?
Yep.
And that'll be down to around $11,000 or so, or $12,000. Any questions about our balance sheet?
I just noticed that there's still a fair bit of money left in the general expense fund. Wondering if you got, I don't know, I guess you can't really split that 7,500 out of different accounts. I don't know, maybe we could. But, or maybe there's something else that you know that's coming up that would, take some of that out.
Good question. I'm not sure what our needs are for lumber for boardwalks.
Why couldn't we take the Landvest fund out of that? The Landvest amount.
There's no reason why we couldn't take part of it out, I would say. We could split it. Or some 5,000 out of general expenses and 2,500 out of conservation. It's nice to conserve the conservation fund as much as we can.
Let's do that then.
Okay, so previous motion, make a motion to amend that motion to state that for the Landvest invoice, $5,000 will be paid out of general expenses and $2,500 will come from the conservation fund. Thank you, Mary,
Second.
for pointing this out. So motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion?
No.
Okay, hearing none. Mike, aye.
Tom, I.
Alan, I.
David, I.
Sandy, I.
Chris, I.
Marcella, I.
I'm sorry, is anybody hearing me?
Yes.
Yes, can hear you, Dave.
Yes,
Yeah.
sir.
Awesome, thank you. Sorry, I got kicked out a couple times.
You keep on coming back. Yeah, anyway, all right. Okay, so we're at 7:30. We can go on to the enforcement order at 915 Maple Ave, construction of the fire pit. We did have a long discussion about this at our last meeting. Mary, could you give us an update, explain why this is on the agenda tonight?
Yeah, so I did a site visit there on Monday, and Alan and I kind of I looked at the soils and where I thought it would be appropriate for bounds to go. I came up with 5 locations that we thought were good. We ended up, and I'll pull up I can pull up the picture of it. All right, so what we did, so it turns out that this is what the plans say the wetland line is, but I found wetland soils, here, and there is actually, so what we ended up doing is just putting a line in pretty much straight across, approximately here, with 5 points, because what the commission had decided was to put bounds in, but to allow this area to be maintained. So the bounds are going to kind of go across here, and there's going to be an opening here. So I thought, seemed like 5 markers. Maybe you don't need that much. I mean, you could just put one on either side, but then it's hard to delineate the opening to here. So I basically had one here, one there, kind of the opening is here, and then one in between these 2. I suggested, though, that maybe I suggested to Alan, maybe some of those could be bushes or shrubs, and maybe just have a marker at each end to try to kind of show where the mowing should happen. Or maybe the board thinks, fewer markers is okay. So that's just that's what we talked about, and I just wanted to know what the board thought of that.
I'm good with 5.
And I have pictures of it in my agent report.
Alan, what do you think of it?
Alan from 9 Maple, I'm assuming, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I think where she put them is fine. Like, I don't, I'm unaware of how this all works. So, I think the markers are fine. It definitely separates, the grassy area from the, the wetland area. I mean, I was just thinking maybe it's up to you guys, but we definitely need to make a boundary line. But I was wondering if we could just do maybe just 5 bushes, or I mean, that's kind of what Mary and I were talking about, and she asked me to come on and talk to you guys about it.
I'd rather see regular bound. I mean, we just want this to be clear to future residents as well. And
Right.
the bushes are not a permanent fixture to guide them.
Sure.
Could maybe plant bushes along beside the bounds. It might be a little more attractive.
Yeah, that's what my thought too. I think we should have bounds there, and I don't mind having bushes at the bounds, but I wouldn't want the bounds to actually be bushes.
Right. Only
The
because,
other thing, oh, sorry. The other thing I was wondering, like, how, because I think you guys discussed 2 several options, and one of them, was a concrete post, and the other one was a boulder of some sort. And I don't know what's going to be, I mean, whether it's appealing or not, but you know, how big these boulders need to be. That would
Something
definitely,
that
you know,
can't
kind of
be rolled
clear
off.
out. I'm
You-
sorry.
I would just think it would need to be something that can't be rolled away easily.
Oh, right, yeah.
I did
Mary
notice
had-
there's, in
Oh.
the first picture that Mary showed, if you could scroll up a little bit, Mary. There's a boulder there. Are there other boulders on site?
Well, that thing is huge. And
Okay,
it
It's like
looks-
3 feet. This is like 3 feet wide.
Yeah,
Okay.
at least.
Well, that was gonna be my next question. Do you have easy access to any, like a small backhoe or,
No.
no,
No.
okay, so, yeah.
Yeah,
But I
they
mean, I
usually,
would even,
usu-
oh,
they usually use boulders when they're available, you know, handy on the site, so.
I mean, like, I could even put, you know, if they were smaller, more manageable, that, you know, would require several people to lug over, or a dolly of some sort, you know, nothing that you can just easily roll around. But I mean, I could even see putting, you know, even more than 5 smaller ones, and then maybe have it accompany some bushes or something like that.
Mhm.
I think if you're gonna use boulders, I would be more comfortable with boulders that were big enough that you needed some equipment to move it. I wouldn't be comfortable with just making a pile of rocks and, you know, a bunch of locations.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so
I would
then it would probably have to be a post then, just because there's really no access back there, you know, to get any kind of heavy equipment or machinery back there. With onto the
Oops,
neighbor's
sorry.
property and cutting across their property. So
Well, installing posts, are we talking about concrete bound markers? Because those require a bit of work too.
yeah, I don't know what it looks like. I really don't. I tried looking at Home Depot or Lowe's, and they don't have anything there, so I wouldn't even know where to get them.
I noticed that Mark LePan had his hand up. I wonder if he has anything he wants to add.
All right, can you hear me?
Yes,
Okay, my question is, and this was discussed somewhat in the previous meeting, was that when these condos were developed, the plan was to have that fence to continue on, and it did not. So therefore, my question is, in the open land where we're talking about these boulders or cement posts, what happens if a little kid's out there playing around, playing catch, and all of a sudden he or she trips and falls and hits his head on there? Who's actually going to be liable for that property, considering it's actually not the association property?
well,
Whose
I'm not,
property is
I'm not,
it?
I'm not sure, yeah, I'm not sure I understand your liability is, you know, safety is a concern. We've run into this at other times with bounds. But in terms of liability, I mean, whose property is it? Is it shared by all the condo association owners?
No, it's not an association thing.
Well, who owns it then?
Well, it does. Yeah, it is owned by that's one big parcel that belongs to all those units.
So, does the association have liability insurance on their property? They probably do.
No.
You might want to think about doing that. You know,
Well, I mean, if you look at the
aside from this question,
if you look at the plans that were originally discussed, anything that was beyond that fence really isn't considered associations.
Well, yeah, the fence kind of was showing I think it was showing the area of the disturbance, but the actual piece of property is much bigger. You guys own all that wetland pretty much back to the houses in the rear view and all the way down to the railroad.
Oh, even though that, okay, because I mean, as it was discussed in the last meeting, it seemed like there was a question as to if that fence would have been going or not going, I guess. So
What
that's
fence?
brought my question.
What fence?
The chain link,
Like a silk?
the chain link fence.
Oh, a chain link fence?
Yeah, on the original plans, it showed the fence blocking off kind of this yard area, but they never built it all the way.
Maybe that needs to be done. Well. you
That would
brought it
also
up,
help
and
protect
it's
any kids
liability.
playing there. You know, if you put the bounds in and have the fence within the bounds, then you keep the kids safe.
And hold them to their original order of conditions.
Other thing you could do is put in some bounds and plant a shrub near the bounds. So it would provide some warning to kids.
Right, others have done
Sorry, I
that.
have barking at the moment. I think Amazon is raiding my house again.
We can't hear them, Mike.
I
Your
can't-
dogs are on mute.
Yeah, this shows the fence going around the corner of the building there. When in reality, it stops somewhere around here. This kind of is the open area in question.
Show me that again, Mary. I'm sorry, my eye wasn't quick as your cursor.
Yeah, let me zoom in a little bit if I can get this thing over to the right
Thank you.
spot. All right, so this line is showing it's a fence right here. It was supposed to go
Okay.
all around the building.
Yep.
And there is an existing fence, but it stops right around here.
Okay,
And so this whole area is open. There's a very steep slope here, but they've got it graded so you can walk down nicely, you know, down to this area. And this is about where the fire circle is approximately. Well, of course, it's in the wetland, so it's over here. Around there.
Mary, what kind of fence is there now?
It's a chain link.
Chain link, yeah.
I guess we missed that with the,
Would if the fence was extended with a break in it, leading with a path leading to the fire pit, you think that would be appropriate, Mary?
You guys got to decide. I mean, I think last time we talked about the fact that this lawn area has been here for many years, and that you know the kids don't really have a safe place to play, and that I think that's why we lean towards putting bounds in along the wetland line. But that is certainly an option you could do.
So the fence
make a path.
the fence would would reduce the amount of play area.
Right. Yep. If I can go back to the pictures. I guess I don't really show but so the wetland here is to the left, and this goes almost to the edge. It's a pretty good, you know, it's a good area that the kids can play in. It's a small yard. Certainly better than what they have out front, because out front it's only like really 10 or 15 feet till the street. But it seems awfully close.
Can we ask that the fence be put in to enclose that area for the kids, and rather than have it be so close to the building? Would it serve the same purpose that was intended for having it around the building? I mean, why was the fence to be there in the first place, in the location that it's on the plans?
Well, if you look, I don't know whether you can see it, but the fence is on the top of this slope right here, chain link fence. I'm sure it was for safety because of this very steep slope.
Gotcha.
I think that was the original purpose of the fence, and, you know, to kind of be a limit of work.
Yeah.
Marcella, at the time that was built, we didn't think there would be any availability of backyard for anyone. And I think that's why the fence, for safety and to protect the wetland from dumping and stuff down there.
So with that slope, has there been a safety problem without the fence there? Have the residents had any issues with that?
Well,
Right.
safety's not really our issue.
No, but it's,
Not
could-
safety of that, but down here, the safety of the bounds, that's our issue.
well, what I was suggesting is moving where the fence could be so that it would fence out the bounds and there would be some lawn for the kids to play in. And the fence would go in, you know, for whatever reason it was going to go in to start with. If that was just a safety issue, and maybe we can sort of broaden the purpose of the fence, and by making it go along the bounds and have it help delineate the area that we want to have bounded. I hope
So
I'm
you're thinking, like,
understanding the
Yeah,
layout.
Mary,
Oh, I
could you,
understand.
Mary, could you show us a near map image of this? Do you have that handy?
Yeah. So yeah, so here's the slope going down. It's not as steep as what you saw in the pictures there, but it is, you know, it's a nice slope. It doesn't need stairs, but it's steep. So that kind of the wetland bounds that I proposed is pretty much right along here, pretty much a straight line. So if you were to fence it, I don't know whether you'd want to, you know, just kind of fence this area. Alan told me he's not exactly sure where the boundary is with these people. There is a little piece of fence there. There's like a hockey goal here. And that's, yeah, a nice flat area. But you guys had still wanted to allow the fire pit to remain. I mean, I guess you could put a fence in and then have a gate for the fire pit.
But we can't,
Something like that.
tell them to put in a fence. That would be up to the people that live there.
That's up, yeah, that's
That's
up to
right.
the.
It's not
I
up
mean,
to us.
this is now good. I mean, these are, I mean, I'm a single dad. We have one unit that's low income and two families that are, you know, their kids are, I don't know, maybe elementary to middle school kids. And, you know, to ask I mean, we went from having 5 bounds to now we're talking about putting up a whole chain link fence that should have been done 20 years ago at the cost of the association. I just think that's a lot. I mean, I get that we want to protect the wetlands back there, and it's very gracious of you guys to allow the fire pit, but if now we're talking about putting in a fence that marks off the entire backyard and then putting in a gate and all this, like, he'll just take everything down. Like, I mean, forget about it.
But we're not, I'm sorry if I was just speculating and trying to figure out a way to make it work, to make it safe for the kids. I understand your situation. It doesn't sound realistic. So
It's safe back there. Like, I mean, it's safe back there. I mean, if we're talking about putting in, I mean, I don't know how tall these concrete posts are, you know, 4x4. I don't know what that means. Do they stick out 4 feet? I mean, I'm just barely over 5 feet myself. So, I mean,
Well, it's 4 inch by 4 inch, and they're often about a foot off the ground or so, or
yeah,
roughly something like that.
I mean, we can put
I
flags
think
up
we
there.
can, I think we can make this work with just a couple of bounds. I can't, I can't show you where I think maybe I think they should go, because I don't have, you can't see my cursor moving, but
I can see your cursor. Or is that
that's
Mary?
Mary's cursor.
Really, Mary.
She was faking us out.
Yeah. So, but I'm not sure, I think Mary first, or folks must say, I'm not sure we need bounds way at I guess that would be the western side of the property. What we might just want is a couple of bounds right kind of in there, Mary, right where yeah, maybe one at the northeast corner, of the blue
Right.
line.
Oh, over
Yeah, right
here?
about there, and then one.
Well,
a
you
little
know what,
further-
Mike, I figured out that this line, I think it pretty much goes straight across. I dug a whole bunch of holes in his yard, much
Okay.
to Alan's dismay. And I think it's okay to make it pretty straight. This was the
Okay.
line from the, so this should have been up more, actually. I don't know if you saw in the
Okay,
picture,
got you.
there's standing
So-
water right there. So if we
Okay,
just
so-
make it straight across, that makes
Okay,
it
stra-
easier with the bounds too.
Straight across, like you're suggesting, but maybe only just a couple.
So
know.
One
if
here.
if I could make a suggestion, or just a suggestion anyways, just so, you know, to keep, I mean, kid safety is obviously a priority. But if we put one you know, where Mary had somewhere around there, and then one all the way towards the end, like there, like in a straight line that indicates where these bounds are, because I think, you know, have to purchase some kind of plaque, I think, if I was
Yep. Yep.
if I'm correct. You know, putting two permanent, well, everything will be permanent, but two permanent concrete markers there, and then continue that line with, you know, a couple of bushes, and I would even put more than, you know, if you guys are asking for 5, you know, markings, you know, I'd rather see plants back there, to be honest with you. It just looks nicer. But I think those two concrete bounds on either side there, and then 5 bushes going across, leaving that opening for the fire pit. I mean, I think that will kind of depict a clear line.
And then you would
That-
maintain, you can maintain like a path to the fire pit, like mow that. And my suggestion board was once we, you know, that I don't know that we need to get this surveyed, but we try to have a relatively accurate sketch plan showing the bounds and the path to the fire circle, and then that would get recorded as part of the certificate of compliance once that's done. The people could kind of
I-
see in perpetuity what's allowed, that the fire circle was permitted.
That sounds good
That
to me.
sounds good,
Some
Mary.
bushes and a bound on either end.
Yeah, I like that too. The only suggestion I have the eastern bound, the one that's kind of in the turfed area. You know, plant a shrub right next to the bound if you're concerned about
Right.
kids. You know, kids tripping over the bound or running into it. If you
Sure.
know, provide a little bit of protection from a shrub, which would deter people from hurting themselves on the bound.
Yeah.
So,
Maybe Alan wants to come up with, you know, a list of where he wants to put the bushes and what he'd like them to be, and, you know, when he thinks about it. We don't have to do this immediately, do we?
No.
Can he have a little while to think about this? Make a
Yeah.
plan?
Do we need a
Well-
bound to the south?
What was that, Tom?
Do we need a bound to the south, looking at this plan, assuming north is straight up? Do we need a
Oh,
bound?
down
to the
here?
south? Yes.
I was gonna say that,
Do
because
we-
this is all still wooded, or I was gonna suggest that this bound, pretty much, the wetland goes straight, it actually pretty much goes straight across to the toe of the slope there. And they have not been, so I just figured a bound there to just kind of show in the, that would, you know, give people an idea, and that one over there. Yeah, we could potentially put one down there, but there's nothing down, this is all undisturbed back here, well, for the most part.
Yeah.
It's all
There's no
grown in.
there's no access back there.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
sketch
That'd be-
plan that Mary was talking about could kind of show that is wetland, and
Yes.
that's not to be disturbed. You know,
I mean, we could even utilize that rock, that boulder. And because there was a flat surface on that, I mean, we could put another plaque on that too, if we needed to. Utilize that as a bound. And that's,
If that works for you, go ahead. Figure, you know, come up with a little diagram of what you'd like and a list of plants.
All right.
Okay. All right, so it sounds like we have a plan. 2 bounds, one of which possibly would be a rock, or a third bound, which would be the rock. Plantings along the line, including one shrub planted near the eastern bound, just for safety purposes, and then a path going from the upland area to the fire pit.
Hmm.
And there'd be a sketch. We can even maybe help you with the sketch. So we have access to this imagery, which probably could be marked up into a sketch.
I mean, are there limitations on what can go in there, like plantings, or I don't know what. I know Mary sent me like a couple of, like 3 suggestions, but I didn't know what else.
I would go with what Mary suggested. We don't want anything invasive planted, but I'm sure that whatever Mary suggests to you, those weren't invasive plants. So.
Yeah, I think
Okay.
mainly native. I mean, I had suggested some shrubs, but like if you wanted a dogwood or something, there's a lot of native plants that could work well back there.
Yeah, I mean, Mary, I'll probably just touch base with you, I guess, offline, and we can just discuss. I don't want to plant anything that that's gonna get anyone in trouble. So, and then, Mark, if you're still, touch base too and discuss it further. So should we plan for next, or that first Wednesday,
Oh, the next meeting?
or the second Wednesday of next month? Or I know that, we want to kind of get this. I mean, I don't know if it's for me to be digging right now, or when we can even get these concrete posts, or where we even get these concrete posts, but
Why don't we, if the board's okay, why don't we get a month to pull this together? I don't know if the board remembers, I'm gone next meeting, so you'll have to. We'll try to put as few things on that meeting as possible.
Month sounds fine to me. Other folks, any comments on that? Okay.
Doesn't matter to me, whatever's good for everybody else.
Let's
Yeah,
put
that's
it.
fine.
Okay, let's put it on the agenda for, say, 7:30 a month from now. The second meeting in April. Is that okay, everybody?
Yeah.
All right, okay. Thanks. We'll,
thank you.
okay, thank you. Take care. All right, that includes our 2 hearings. General business administrators report, Mary.
All right. I can do that now. And while I'm pulling it up, there's something I forgot to do 2 meetings ago when everything was a little scary. I was supposed to report that I had called the state about the sawmill, 162A Main Street, and what they thought would be appropriate there for the work, etc. And they did say they thought a determination was very appropriate given the situation. So I think we just need to, or maybe if you guys agree, I'm going to reach out to them and ask them to do a determination.
Would that be coordinated with Natural Heritage?
So they still need to do a natural heritage filing, and then I think they would do a determination separately. Of course, I haven't heard from them at all. I'm sure they're hoping we'll forget about them.
That was the DP's recommendation for not a notice of intent, just a termination.
Yeah.
Okay, well, any discussion on that? Okay, hearing none, is there a motion?
Do we need a motion to authorize Mary to move forward on this?
Yeah, I was gonna say, yeah, I'll make a motion that commission, authorizes Mary to inform the sawmill owners that the commission is requesting a request for determination be filed.
Second.
And in conjunction with, the, permitting they're going to have to do with, Mass Natural Heritage.
So moved.
Okay. Any discussion? All right, hearing none, Mike, aye.
I.
Alan, I.
David, I.
Sandy, I.
Marcella, aye.
Chris, I.
Okay, I think that's everybody. Okay, thanks, Mary. More on the administrator's report.
All right, so 65 Rockwood Meadows, they called with some trees that need to come down. The wetland bounds are pretty much on the edge here, and what I was confused about was whether the bounds delineated the wetland, which I think it does because the wetland's literally 20 feet in, or whether it delineated the conservation restriction. If you look at the map, it looks like they have a little bit of land that's in the wetland. But at any rate, they have 3 trees that they're going to get some work done. This is a dead white pine here, just standing close to the edge of the wetland. And I guess I didn't take a picture of the unit, but I'm pretty much standing at the edge of the unit. It's relatively close. And then the tree person suggested that this one should go because it's leaning towards the unit. And that this one, they just wanted to take off these branches and leave it, and just have it so that it waited. If it was going to fall, it was going to fall towards the conservation land. And I think they mentioned that this pine, they were just going to fall and leave it in the woods.
Is the one on the left an oak?
I think these are both oaks. I did not look carefully at them.
Seems reasonable to me.
Yeah.
Does anyone know in Rockwood Meadows whether the bounds represent, or maybe they represent both wetland edge and edge of the conservation restriction?
We would have to look at the plants, but I honestly don't know at this point.
Okay.
In that location, we'd
I
have to look
think
at the
that-
plants. I think they're most of the bounds that I've seen are the CR bounds.
Yeah.
That's right. I remember when we went for the CR walk, we were looking for the bounds, and they were like people had disguised them, and there weren't really any wetlands in that area. It was like way in the back. I don't know if you all remember, but somebody had hidden their bounds under something decorative, and so what the bounds were there, just they weren't near any wetlands. It was the CR that they were delineating.
Yeah, this is 65, so just through the woods here, I don't know, 100 feet or so is the trail that runs from the parking lot. So I think there are some wetland in this section here. But
Yeah.
It could be that this is definitely just the edge of the conservation restriction. And so if it was, because the bound was right along the grass line, then these trees are all within the restriction area.
So
All right.
because they're in the restriction area, they're really our, we get to make decisions about the trees. So
You do.
yeah, I'm just fine with what's proposed.
Any other thoughts on this? Okay, let's make a motion to authorize Mary to discuss tree removal with the owners at 56 Rockwood Lane, and that the commission is approves the recommendations to remove 2 trees and trim a 3rd.
So moved.
Second,
Any discussion? None, Mike, aye.
Tom, I.
Alan, I.
David, I.
Sandy, I.
Marcella, I.
Chris, I.
Okay, thanks, Mary.
Great, just construction in progress here. I did the pre-construction meeting for 12 Kiwanis Beach Road. We just looked at where they had put the limit of work. And it turns out once they had everything staked out, if you will remember, you may not remember, and I don't have the plans, but the well is, we're looking towards the lake. The well was over here, and the path to the well was supposed to continue on and be the path to the lake. And he's already, and there's a lot of trees in that section. He's already decided he's only going to clear to the well, and he's thinking that he's going to put his path to the lake in here and not clear any trees because it's already open. And I thought that was an excellent idea, and that that other area would remain, you know, just a path to the well, and then the rest of the trees there would be preserved. So that was positive, I thought. And then I had a complaint about 131 Fowler, the golf course, and this pavilion was seen to be under construction. They didn't have a building permit or a permit with us. So thankfully, it is not in wetland. It is very close. The wetland is about 23 feet off the rear, and it was all put in previously disturbed area. It's just part of their golf course. And they had also installed, I don't know whether I put a picture of it, I guess I didn't. They also had put in a snack shack like the year before that didn't really, and I'm not sure if that needed a building permit because it's on wheels, but they kind of cleared a gravel pad for it, and that's also, you know, like 30 feet from the wetland. So I'm having him file an RDA for this work here. It's pretty much done. He just has to figure out what he's going to put underneath it. The other issue I ran into there is he's storing this artificial turf. Again, this is right at the edge of the, you know, the cleared area. The wetland is maybe 30 feet off, and the little black pellets, you know, they're kind of all over the ground here. So I told him I didn't think we would want him to keep that turf there, that he needed to find a better place to keep it, you know, preferably on pallets and on plywood, with maybe even with some kind of edge to keep the pellets from spilling off. So I just wanted to, and he needed to get it out of the buffer zone.
That sounds good. What are the pellets though exactly?
It's kind of the fill that goes in artificial turf. They have to put this like, and it's actually, they're made, I just went to the MACC conference and did the artificial turf thing and learned all about the lovely thing that's in there. So they found PFAS and stuff in those little pellets. It's basically recycled tires. They're very small, and they can, you know, they can spread easily. It's like, you know, I don't know, they're 1/4 inch or smaller, little tiny pellets basically. And they are, you know, over the ground here. That black that you can kind of see there is a pretty thick piece of them. He's got this bucket full of them that he's kind of, because they're expensive too, he was trying to save them. So he got this free, which is nice, from someone who was getting rid of their old artificial turf, and he is using it. I know.
Someone who says, I have PFAS here. How do I get rid of it? Exactly.
Exactly. And so he's using it on his little putting greens, you know, like he'll have a 8x8 square of it for the putt. So I don't know. I mean, when he comes before us for that's a whole issue, whether we want to discuss. I told him I thought if he just stored it better. I didn't tell him, oh, maybe we just want you to stop using it entirely, which we might. But that I told him he at least needed to get that out of there. So if the board's okay with some kind of Oh, go ahead.
I was just wondering, why wouldn't he have gotten a building permit for the pavilion? That seems like he was remiss.
Yeah, I
Y-
would think so. Yep.
Is he going to apply for building permit?
Yes, he's already applied for a building permit.
Okay.
Yep.
Good.
And maybe, since he did this work, once we actually start permitting his pavilion, I mean, maybe there's some, in my head, maybe there's some, I don't know, mitigation that he can do. I don't know. We got to talk about that later, but if we want him to, I mean, the artificial turf, it's been sitting there for a while. We can wait till he comes before us with his filing, which hopefully will be shortly, or we can tell him he needs to move it very quickly and do something with it. I don't know.
Is there a risk of any contaminants getting into the wetland here? I mean, there is a risk, I know that, but is there a great risk? If he doesn't move it, are we looking at some bigger problems?
Well, it's relatively flat. I didn't see any channels going from this area toward the wetland. He does have beavers, and that's another issue. The water level is higher, kind of flooding some of his golf course. So he's going to be asking for permission to breach the dam there. So that's, it can probably wait, and maybe it's something we can discuss with him, when he comes before us for his determination.
Mary, when you
It-
spoke with him, he understands now that this has to be moved, right?
Yes, he understands that it has
Okay,
to
well,
be
we'll
moved.
see, when,
Yep.
maybe he'll work on that before he files, and if anybody talks to him, maybe encourage him to solve that problem before he gets to us.
Yeah. Yeah. And his other issue, he has a fair number of issues. This is the access that he uses to his property. This is the state forest on this side, and Davidson Pond is over here. I guess I should have taken a. So this is, and the whole road was all washed out. And unfortunately, if you can think about it, so there's his golf course over here. Davidson Pond is over here. This is the outlet to Davidson Pond. And the gravel went all the way down into the stream. Not a lot, but so another issue, how he's going to deal with the road, whether we're going to make him, how much we're going to make him clean up, or are we going to say, I don't know what we're going to say. I would think at least get the stuff that's out of the water. I don't know how, I mean, this is kind of hard. It's spread over like a 15, 20-foot area. It's 2 to 3 inches thick. It does go all the way into the water.
So Mary,
this-
so the gravel, he recently placed the gravel on the road, or is it an old road that is eroding?
I'm not sure how recent. He says he maintains the road and not the state forest. Although I guess the property line runs down the middle. And I'm not sure how recent this gravel is. It looked relatively recent. And the problem is the trail comes down through here. There's a culvert. And so the water's running down the trail. It's missing the culvert and then running down the road. And this, I imagine this is all from those January storms.
Should we get more storms of that magnitude? Is there something we can do to help prevent this? Can we suggest some other
Right.
material,
Yeah.
or sandbags, or something to make sure this doesn't happen again?
Oh, sandbags is a good idea. We were talking, because this is where it overflowed. I mean, he and I talked that maybe he should, regrade this, put a channel down this side, and try and direct it over here, which is, of course, this is the state land, but direct it to there's the big pond, and then there's a little pond below the dam at the big pond. Direct it to that pond instead of having it go down there. but he might need something along here, and maybe sandbags is a good idea. We were thinking of starting out with hay bales, or straw bales, but I'm not sure with the amount of water that's coming down here that the straw bales would be enough.
They'd probably float away.
Yeah, exactly.
Maybe a fiber log or two,
Uh-huh.
which decompose very slowly, a core log.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
You can just stake it. It won't, stuff will grow into it. It'll do the job long term.
That's a really good idea for there. And then, I mean, you guys can think about, or maybe you want to decide tonight how much of that area you want him to clean up. Yeah, I was thinking in my head, well, it's not like he's a contractor building a house and he's got this huge open area. But on the other hand, it's definitely damaged to the wetland area.
To me, if that gravel's been there quite a while, that's just an act of nature, that I wouldn't come down too hard on him for that.
Yeah, it seemed like it was, yeah.
But the gravel's like a different color. It's clearly not native. Is it?
Yeah, no, I don't think this is native. He's
I mean,
brought
it
it in at
didn't
some
jump
point.
out of the stream up by the culvert and come down from there. I don't know anything that's that color around Upton.
And this is his main access to the golf course. This is how he drives vehicles in and out.
Well, I personally, Mary, if can work with him to reduce the risk of a further event like this, that would probably be enough for me.
Okay.
Yeah, ask him what his plan is.
Your idea of, regrading, channelizing it on one side, maybe some fiber rolls if you think they're a good idea, and leave it at that perhaps. But this would be covered under the RDA too, so we can talk about it some more.
Yes.
Once he files.
And this was just the complaint that we had yesterday and today. Off of Old Grafton Road, kind of the area of inundation. Kind of hard to see in this picture, but it looks like probably some fill did get into here. And this is the fill. You can see the water in the background there. And he dug a little channel up to the road, but it doesn't go anywhere. I don't think there's a culvert or anything. And on the other side of the road, it's up. I don't know that it could drain that way. There's no outlet to this thing. It's isolated. It's small. I'm not sure that it's officially wetland. Got white pines all around. Could be wetland, but it's certainly not protected.
I was just wondering, did this turn out to not be a vernal pool after all then? Is that what
I think it might be a different location.
Yeah, the vernal pool is a little further up the road, and I heard the wood frogs going crazy, and that vernal pool was hopping.
But it's
There's
not
a whole
affected by work.
No, it's not affected by this work.
Okay.
And there's a larger wetland system behind this rise here. It goes way down, and actually the vernal pool connects into that area. This is pretty much by itself, right next to the road.
Okay.
And I'm not sure I don't know that it's worth reaching out to the homeowner or not. He does seem to have other wetlands on his property, the wetlands that are behind here.
Well, maybe just reach out to him, let him know that we were asked to take a look at it and to remind him not to, disturb wetlands and, in the future, even though this may not be a wetland, he does have wetlands, remind him about those kind of
Right.
thing.
Yep.
Mm.
Then that's the end of the pictures. I did get a call from an engineer talking about 99 Crockett Road. They're going to redo a septic system. And I know you guys, and they wanted to know RDA or NOI. I know you guys often do RDAs for septic system. And so I may just tell them that. I just wanted your input because when we did 105 Crockett Road, and this is the engineer just submitted it, he did an NOI for that septic. This one will be most of the field is more than 100 feet from the lake, and the tank is 80 feet. There is a steep slope, but and if you look at the plans, most of the septic system is, there's a septic system, then there's a house, then there's a lake. So it could go RDA, but if anyone felt strongly that it should be an NOI, I would tell them that.
Sounds like an RDA would do the trick.
Any other thoughts on that? Okay, I think RDA would be acceptable.
And another question came from 10 Oak Knoll, which he was installing a septic and we had approved it. And he decided he didn't like the way they graded it. They left a very steep slope and he wanted to smooth it out. And I just told him, as long as you guys are okay with it, that he should just go ahead and do it. It's not, he's bringing the grading a little bit closer to the wetland, but his driveway is between the grading and the wetland, and it's still 50 feet away, and it's all in previously disturbed area. So I just told him to do it because you can't really amend or do anything with a determination. So.
Okay, thanks. Sounds good. Just letting us know.
That is pretty much it, except for we can talk about the Governor's Landing. Never remember all those. The Governor's Landing meeting for the MEPA filing, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's coming up next week, and I plan on going to at least the site visit and maybe the Zoom one as well.
Yeah, did you send around the Zoom link?
The Zoom one, it was in that email,
Okay.
which had an invitation. They had a Zoom link. Well, so it's two different meetings, and I don't know, that's what it was a little confusing. I think it's the same meeting, but just one's virtual if you can't make the site meeting. Was my impression.
Well, if anyone wants to attend, please do. Mhm.
Mary, is everyone invited to the site? What?
Yeah, anyone's invited to the site. I don't know if they'll do they may do a full walk.
If you get a chance, take a look at the vernal pool, see if there's wood frog activity up there this year.
Yeah, well, I'll do that.
Because wood frogs are hopping, as you mentioned earlier. There's a lot of activity already.
Yes.
Okay.
Was that pool actually certified, Mike, in Governor's Landing?
David collected the information. Did he ever actually certify it or submit that info? Anyone? Mary, do you know?
I don't know for sure. I would imagine that it would have been finalized, but
Well, we can look into that.
Yeah.
Sometimes it takes a while for the paperwork to be processed for certifications.
Yeah.
But I know that David collected the information a couple of years ago now. Okay, well, can we move on to open space committee update? Mary, is that all right? You all set, Mary?
Yep, that's good.
Okay. Open space committee update, Bill.
Yep.
Okay.
So you guys saw the appraisal of the Lake Wildwood land was completed. The appraiser appraised it at $5,000 an acre as essentially open space because there's no way you can get to it with a vehicle. So the appraised value was $250,000. So essentially, like I said, he determined that its highest and best use was as open space, and then looked at sales of similar properties, a fairly broad range of area. Found 5 or 6 comparables, I forget what it was, but ranging from about 2,000 an acre to 10,000 an acre, and basically drew a line in the middle after comparing each of the properties and their characteristics. So I'm working on the application to the Community Preservation Committee, which at this point will be for $250,000 and an amount to fund the transaction costs. The only other thing of particular note is I've been working on the parcels with SVT in terms of being able to describe them. He needed to put together a package for his board, and we can't find. It appears to us that one of the parcels they may not have clear title to. So ultimately, that'll become an issue of with the lawyers and the title search. But it's a very unusual deed. So in any case, it's possible that would get kicked out because we couldn't get title to it.
Bill, does that parcel abut the railroad, or is it?
No, it's the one.
What's the lake?
Yeah, it's the
What's
one
the
that.
lake?
Yeah. So at this point, there's really no telling who owns it. There are two deeds which clearly reflect transfer of title from one party to another, and describe the the parcels in detail. The deed that for this parcel is from the set of spouses to the other set of spouses. Uses the refers to the assessor's tax map to define the parcel, and then refers to the other two deeds at tangent. I mean, there's no specific. They just said refer to these other two deeds. So I was doing some research today, and it's possible that this seems to have occurred after one of the abutting properties had been surveyed, and the time in 1982. So maybe a coincidence. It's possible that as the surveyor was doing that, they reached out to the family to find out if they knew who owned that parcel. And at this point, some of my next steps include reaching out to some of the budding landowners to talk about easements and such for access and perhaps parking. I did discover that one of the private properties that abuts, they have a deed that specifically refers to a farm crossing over the tracks from 1888. So conceivably, we could strike a deal with them to take advantage of that.
Right, that's good news.
Yep.
Good sleuthing.
So, and I have reached out to, so the 250,000 covers the land in Upton and in Grafton. I left a message for the Grafton conservation agent because trying to figure out how Grafton is interested in buying the land in Grafton. We have to get together with them and figure out how we do that. Because that would certainly reduce the ask to us by about $50,000.
So that appraisal encompasses the part in Grafton as well?
Yes, the appraisal covered the full property. And I'll circulate the appraisal. I knew enough to send it to my cohorts on the open space committee, but I've been extremely busy recently, so. And I don't have anything, any updates on Mechanic Street. So if anybody has any questions, I'd be happy to answer them. Right, and I'm all set.
All right, thanks, Bill. So, Land Stewardship Committee update is next.
Nothing new.
Thanks. We'll go to discussion items. We've talked about Rockwood Lane. Order conditions for the Grove Street Bridge. Mary circulated a draft of that. Any
Yeah,
comments on it?
Yes, certainly I would want comments from the board, but Dennis has not heard back from the engineer on that as to whether they had any comments yet.
When is the when is 21 days up?
21 days is up a week from today. Then I did talk with Dennis, though. I know if the applicant sends a written thing, they can waive the 21 days. So he's willing to do that so we can wait until we get all the information that we need.
Is that all right with everybody?
Yep.
Okay. Governor's Landing sewer order conditions.
I updated that today and put it in the packet. Can you still hear me?
Yes.
Yep. Good. Would you like me to pull that up? I think so I had sent that off to Dennis, and their concerns were, I guess I had put a condition in there which wanted the as-built stamped by a professional land surveyor, and they said, no, we won't do that, but they will get it stamped by an engineer, so I just changed that. I don't know where that professional land surveyor one came from. And then the other condition that had been in there was to cover the trenches at the end of the day, and he says, no, we have to follow the DOT protocol, which we have to do whatever they say. So that might not include covering the trenches at the end of the day. So those are the changes I made to what I had sent out previously.
Any comments on that? If none, Mary, would you like a motion to approve that order?
Yes, that would be good.
Okay, so I move to approve the draft order conditions written for the Governor's Landing sewer line. I don't know what the file number is, but that can be added to the motion.
Second.
Any discussion? Okay, hearing done. Mike, aye.
Tom, I.
Alan, I.
David, aye.
Sandy,
Chris abstain.
Marcella, aye.
All right, thanks. Next on the agenda is the review of possible modifications to the conservation land use regulations. Marcella, would you like to? Marcella has drafted some changes to our existing regs.
Yeah, I incorporated the comments I got from you all previously, as well as something from the Land Stewardship Committee. So if there's, you feel free to weigh in, and if there's anything else that needs to be changed or added, we can do that.
Okay, thanks. Let's scroll through it slowly so people can read it.
Oh, I'm not scrolling right now. My landline is actually running out of battery, so I'm switching phones. I'll be right back. I know. Technology.
Technology, yeah.
Hello?
Hi.
Okay, just making it work, sure it's working.
So the first sentence, don't we have hunting in there too?
First sentence.
Yeah, you got rid of the trapping.
What, we're not trapping anymore? What happened to that?
Well, that was my suggestion to remove
Why
that,
would we get rid of trapping?
because I personally hate trapping.
Yeah, but
And-
that's
And
hardly,
trapping is,
hardly a reason.
well, I think it's cruel, to tell you the truth. I think that would probably be my main reason.
Well,
Also, it's a use that when we did our open space plan questionnaire, just a small handful of people.
exactly. So why are we kicking them off the property?
Well, we're not kicking anyone off the property. We're just saying that they can't trap,
Yeah, you're
set
saying,
traps on the property. And there are reasons. You know, there's some safety reasons. Sometimes dogs are running free, which they shouldn't be doing, but sometimes they're trapped incidentally.
not in Massachusetts.
Dogs can be trapped in cage traps.
It would have to be an awfully big cage trap or very.
Well, there are people who trap for there are people who trap for coyotes.
Yeah, and they don't catch them in cages.
How do they catch them then?
They don't. They shoot them. Coyotes will not go in a cage. It's not impossible. You can possibly catch a coyote in a cage trap, but it is almost an accident. It almost never happens.
Hmm.
I don't see why we should be kicking people out of our properties when we should be including them. I've been this way since the beginning. I think we should be inclusive. I think we should encourage all kinds of people to use our properties. Trapping is permitted in Massachusetts. I think hunting and trapping should be allowed because it's a permitted use in the state. And, you know, like you said, there aren't many of them, but they do serve a nice purpose, especially in certain areas, because the predators they're catching are also egg eaters. And so we have the turtles, right? So we've got, they're one of the problems with their, other than roads, it's also the predators, the egg eaters, the raccoons, the possums, the skunks, the fisher, what have you. Those are animals that are caught regularly in cage traps. And those are the ones that are also destroying the nests of like wood turtles. So there is a purpose for it. And like you said, there are very few of them. And I don't think we should be, I think we should just be inclusive on it. If it's legal, let people use it. We shouldn't be banning them from picking berries and hunting and doing these other things. There's nothing, I don't see a reason for it other than we don't particularly care for their values. And I think that's not right.
Does this
Well,
include like trap?
I personally believe trapping, even with cage traps, is simply inhumane. And I think it's an anachronism from previous era, basically. So anyway, that's my thought. Why don't we go through the rest of this, and then once we've looked at all the changes, I'll entertain any motions regarding any accepting these changes or modifying them in any way. How about that? Looks like there's a typo in Conservation Commission. Yeah, it's
Two wells and trails and 13.
okay. So I think that's it, right? All
Can I
right.
ask a question? Why
Sure.
can't people use metal detectors? I'm curious.
Well, go ahead, Marcella.
We were kind of following the guidelines from DCR. A lot of what happens is that when people detect metal, they disturb historic sites, and that I'd like to discourage that, but if people are interested in prospecting and digging around for historic materials, you may differ on that. But the DCR, it mirrors DCR's policy.
And we have had, well, some issues at Upton State Forest. And I know from Metacomet Land Trust, we've had some people metal detecting on land trust property in Blackstone.
And it's not just a matter of detecting something metallic, but in order to retrieve it, you have to do some excavation.
Yeah.
And that can be damaging too.
And then if they find something, they remove it, which is not permitted.
So, I mean, I've seen people using metal detectors in the Upton State Forest, and they found buttons and stuff from, I guess, back in, I guess, in the late 1800s or something. I thought it was kind of interesting. I didn't find it to be a problem. I mean, no one was ever going to find those buttons unless somebody was prospecting for them. I don't know. I'm just more, I don't know. I haven't seen the problem with it, seeing people doing it. And I don't have a problem with people. I just don't have a problem with people doing it. I don't see the issue. I mean, I guess if somebody has seen, an area all torn up, maybe that's a problem, but they seem to have just a little spade and they dig a little hole, and if there's anything in there, they just pull it out. A lot of times it's just a piece of barbed wire or something else. So I don't have a problem personally with people using metal detectors.
Any other discussion for now? And then if not, I'll entertain a motion to accept these regulations as written. And just, Tom, we can make amendments to that motion if it's seconded concerning your concerns.
Second.
Okay, so the motion to accept these has been made and seconded. Is there any discussion?
Yeah, I mean, I think we should be more inclusive with the people we let use these properties. I think because we don't agree with their values, there's no reason to kick them off the property. And I think trapping is legal. I disagree with you, Mike, about the whether or not it's inhumane. And like you said, there are very few people who do it, but I don't see any reason to take that away. They serve a purpose and they don't ask for anything. I mean, we spend tens of thousands of dollars on hikers. We spend thousands and thousands of dollars for horseback riders. Hunters and trappers don't ask for anything. They just want to be left alone. And I think that we should just let them use the properties.
Okay, so the motion then, could you turn that into a motion? Maybe scroll
To
back
allow
up.
trapping.
Okay, the motion is to
I guess to continue to allow trapping on our property.
Okay. Okay, can you allow trapping? Okay, is there a second to that amendment?
I'll second that one.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's been seconded. Okay, any other amendments, Tom? Would you like to?
Well, I mean, I don't have a problem with people using metal detectors.
Okay, so the amendment would be to strike the prohibition against metal detectors.
Yeah, I don't have one, by the way. It's just, I just want people to know that. I just think, I just like the idea of more and more people using our properties.
It's funny, I do have a metal detector, but I use it to find my my temperature loggers in the stream. Anyway, so is there a second to that amendment?
I'll second that as well.
Okay. All right, so any further discussion? All right, hearing none. let's have a vote to accept these revised regulations as amended. Mike, nay.
Tom, I.
Alan, I.
David, I.
Sandy, I.
Marcella, nay.
Abstain. Chris abstains.
Chris abstains. Okay, so then the motion passes. So that the regs will be amended, or the draft of the regs will be amended as discussed.
So shall I present that at the next meeting just for finalization and vote on it? Is that,
I think we voted on it. I mean,
Yeah.
unless someone else, I mean, it's pretty clear we strike the prohibition against trapping and we strike the prohibition against metal detectors.
okay, so it's been approved with those two
I'd say
amendments?
so, unless there's any
Yeah, it's been approved.
any
Okay.
further discussion. Okay, great. Thank you, Marcella, for working on that. Governor's Landing ENF, we discussed that. South Street preliminary subdivision comments for planning board. Mary, do we need those right away, or can when they haven't?
Well, no, I mean they're going to have to file with us anyway, so we wouldn't have to necessarily comment on it.
Okay. Any thoughts on that? It's a like about a 4-house subdivision off of South Street near the gravel pits, and
I
the
did put the plan. If you guys want to look at the plans, I can pull them up.
Sure.
4 houses and a solar thing.
Yeah, the solar is
I'm not in love with the solar thing.
the solar is not part of this application.
They
It-
could just put it on their roofs.
But it's that would be later. You know, they'll come back to the planning board and maybe probably the commission for buffer zone work for the proposed solar farm. But right now, what's before the planning board is the 4-house subdivision.
So if we say no to the solar farm later on, will they want to come back and put a house there?
They have really serious problems with elevation here.
Okay,
If you look at LiDAR imagery, almost all of the proposed solar farm area
yeah,
appears to be below elevation 269, which is the Corps of Engineers flowage easement. What
right.
was stated at the planning board meeting last night was that they've been talking to the Corps about the solar farm and would be proposing to put the solar panels on posts to raise them to 269 or above, maybe. Some of these areas from the LiDAR, are in the 240 range. A lot of them are in the 250 range. I don't know. Good luck to them. I think they were talking about perhaps around a 20-acre solar farm. There are some wetland. There are some there's a significant Mass Natural Heritage recognized plant community kind of in the northern part of this. I don't know. Can you show that wetland right where that is a black spruce tamarack bog, at least part of it, that Natural Heritage has identified. Henderson, Goss Pond conservation area is right to the north of that.
So Mike, I understand this is, the elevation stuff. And I believe this is zoned agricultural, isn't it?
It is, yeah.
Okay, so my question is, I know I've been reading some stuff about solar farms. I'm not a big fan of them, but they're trying to do more things with them, and they've been talking about, having raised panels and then planting and stuff underneath them, certain different things. I don't know if that's something that you could do in that area or not do in that area. The Army Corps of Engineers, I don't know enough about it, but would that be allowed?
It might be, as long as they didn't reduce the volume available to store floodwaters. They have very, very, very poor soils here, or I mean,
That's
they
sandy,
barely,
right?
yeah, they barely have soils. It's a gravel pit, a lot of it. There's the forested areas, but a lot of it's gravel pit. I don't know, again, that's not what they're proposing right now. They haven't really come with a definitive plan, and the first step here is that town meeting has to approve basically, I think it's called an overlay district. Bill, help me if I'm wrong about that, but which would actually allow a solar farm to be constructed in this location. Right now, the town's solar array bylaw only allows arrays like this to be in the I think commercial, industrial, or maybe just industrial zones. And this is an agricultural residential zone. So town meeting has to approve the zoning change before they can come back to the planning board with a proposal.
If I understand the elevation thing, does this mean that some of those panels, if they're going to be on stilts, for example, would be up pretty high? And they could do agriculture. The higher they are, probably the better it is for agriculture. Do you think that would be something they would take advantage of and try to maximize the use of the land, or?
I don't know. I think maybe since the soils are so poor, maybe well, it depends what they propose, but another another possibility would be you could have some like early successional habitat, developing underneath these raised panels. Commission might want to have some recommendations about mowing frequency and seeding and things like that. But again, it's not before us yet, or before the planning board yet. It's just a proposal that they've chose to show on their subdivision plan.
I'm just curious, has anyone ever done solar panels like on pontoons that it would float if that?
There are some floating solar panel arrays in the world. I've seen pictures of them. Yeah.
Does that make sense here, or is that
well, here, assuming an elevation around, I have to look. I've got the frequency curve. I got to look at it, but it would take a very large event or a very infrequent event to flood, say up to 250. Up to 269 is probably someplace north of a 500-year event. It's not even on the frequency curve. It's just out there. But 250, 255 are less than 100-year events. So, in fact, there was an event where some of this area probably was flooded since West Hill Dam was built.
Isn't this area an area that they can flood? That was my
Yes.
understanding.
It is. The Corps of Engineers purchased basically the right to flood these areas back in the late 50s, early 60s when they built West Hill Dam. So it's got a flowage easement, and the elevation of the flowage easement all up through here, through the West River. It actually goes all the way up to West Upton by the railroad. The elevation is 269. So the Corps purchased the right to flood anything below 269. And that easement states that, basically the key thing that is prohibited is habitable structures. So, you know, people can put fences, they can, I'm not sure about barns, but athletic fields, they can do forestry, they can do agriculture, they can probably build a solar farm. Because that solar, you know, those panels aren't a habitable structure. But what the applicant said last night was that they've talked to the Corps, and the Corps is going to be asking for, you know, the elevated panels. So Mary, could you go back to the subdivisions that shows the subdivision? Because I do have like an initial thought about something there. So it's like a 4-house subdivision, and you know what kind of bothers me about this is, you know, I just maybe see, you know, try to ask the planning board to require a green design here for stormwater management. You got 4 houses, you got 2 detention basins, you got a whole bunch of catch basins along the road. You know, it's basically, this road is probably, you know, better developed than South Street is, you know, and you know, it's going to support 4 houses, and there is a vernal pool right in there. And I got to thinking, you know what, you know, it'd be nice if we didn't have catch basins, which are death traps to vernal pool critters, potentially. And do they really need, you know, all this engineered stormwater management in this location? So that would be my comment right now to the planning board. You know, for 4 houses, you know, is all this really necessary in terms of stormwater management? Might be a good location to try to push green design.
So the green design is like grass swales and
Yeah.
stuff? Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not opposed to that. But you mentioned something about the catch basins being death traps for vernal pool critters. Is
Yeah,
that,
and other critters too. You can see that they, I don't know, Mary, if you could just circle a catch basin, there's pairs.
I can see.
Yeah,
I can
yeah,
see them.
yeah, and there's
But-
more, you know, there are several more. I just, you know, don't like them if they can possibly be avoided, because they're, you know, a critter, an animal will fall into those, and that's it, you know, it can't get out. And every once in a while, you know, you see something, you know, ducklings, or, you know, juvenile foxes, squirrels, salamanders, frogs, all those kinds of animals are, you know, vulnerable. Snakes.
Yeah, no, I've never, I don't, I like the green, you know, the setting up for the, you know, the green water stuff, but you know what, the catch basins I've seen, actually, they're generally not maintained, and actually I see a lot of wildlife in them. I didn't know they were a problem for amphibians.
Well, it's these deep sump catch basins that really are just
Oh, this is
wonderful.
different? This is.
Yeah, the current design, you know.
Yeah, because the ones I've seen, critters can, you know, it's a bank and they can walk out, and I'm all for the green stuff, but I just, I didn't know.
I don't
these
think
were different.
that's the case here. They're basically a deep sump, and then when the water gets so high in the catch basin, it flows into a pipe to the detention basins. But unless the water's high enough, there's very low chance a critter's going to get out of there. You know, it might find the pipe and crawl out that way, but it's not so likely. I researched this some years ago about, and there is some like literature studies on the effect of these, or the problem, the trapping problem that these structures have. And this one, it's near a vernal pool. We might be able to make a case that we don't want catch basins near a vernal pool where there will be vernal pool organisms, wildlife crossing the road.
So this is gonna come before us when? So we're gonna see this when
We
can
will
act.
eventually, yeah, but we right now, for the planning board, we could make comments on this to the planning board before it comes to the commission.
This is Bill. I have a question. And that is, if you have some, like a swale, do you still have the detention ponds as well?
Probably, yes.
Okay.
Yes, but probably smaller because the swale would be,
Part of the same methodology of getting
yes,
water to infiltrate. Okay, yeah.
yeah. I mean, we don't have, I don't know if we have any experience with one of these being permitted in Upton. I think there are some planning board members who would probably be supportive of this. I know one in particular who would be a fan of this for sure. But there's other planning board members who will want like a 26-foot wide road.
Yeah, I think some of the members believe that the swales are more dangerous. And then there's the issue of maintaining them.
Yeah. The DPW may not approve. We did several years ago. I don't we were talking with Mark Allen about this. I can't remember which project it was right now, but Mark was an advocate for this. I think probably to save his his client some money. I mean, he's less expensive to construct. But he pointed us towards a subdivision in, I think it was Bellingham, which was built using green design. And I actually went and took a look at that, and I have pictures of it. If I can find those pictures, I'll post them. It was a bigger subdivision than this. It was, I don't know, probably in the order of 10, 20 houses. But it was, I think it was done without catch basins, and it looked fine to me.
Wasn't Claflin Farm done that way?
No, I don't think so.
Because I believe that's where he was making the.
Yeah, I think
Pitch.
Claflin Farm has catch basins. I think.
Okay.
Mary, I don't know if you remember.
So I
But-
know they may have a catch basin, but I know they have just swales mostly along the road. It's because they're washing out at the moment, but
Clapham Farm is the development that he proposed that to us. I don't know that it was agreed upon, but that was where it was proposed.
Well, we should take a look at Claflin Farm and see what was done and how it's doing.
yeah, and I know they have this. Yeah, I think it was actually because I was looking at one of the swales goes into kind of a long swale which has riprap check dams that go for quite a while before it gets to a larger detention basin. It's all above ground, so and maybe that's what happened there. There are no catch. I'd have to look more carefully though.
Yeah, I don't remember, but it was Mark Allen company to do that design. So maybe the planning board has been primed for green design at this project. Okay, well, any other discussion on this right now? Mary, probably, I don't know what the schedule is for the planning board. Maybe you could ask Michael to see when it would be appropriate for us to get a letter in to the planning board.
Grace, do you know?
I believe it is being continued to the next meeting, which would be the 26th.
So it'll probably be continued into April, I would guess. These things take a while. So maybe if we could shoot to have any comments in a letter by the first meeting in April. Would you have time to put something together, Mary, if people send you suggested language for the letter?
I would think so. I could possibly try to get something done before I leave. I leave on the 26th.
Okay. Good. Well, if anyone takes a look at this and has any other comments, please get them to Mary. And we can maybe have a letter of it available to review and approve at our next meeting. Let's see. Next on the agenda, Lake Wildwood open space opportunity, that's been covered. Robertson Family Trail Bridge, just received the 100% design plans today. So we'll be putting a request for amended order in for that. Mechanic Street parking area design, that's underway. Had a meeting with SVT and Paul Kaczynski. Paul's probably going to possibly be putting in a bid to SVT for construction of the Mechanic Street parking area. Naming of conservation areas. Grafton kind of came up dry when it comes to any information about George Misko. They just there was nothing about him in their records that they could find. So I guess we're still kind of thinking about what we could name the Mechanic Street property. I know Marcella at a land stewardship meeting last week had a good point. It would be nice to name this sooner rather than later. The trail system is going to be developed this summer. There'll be probably a ribbon cutting sometime this year. And the CR is being reviewed. It'd be nice to actually have the property name in the CR if we actually have one, or the conservation area name.
What about putting something in, well, we don't really have the Upton Town Crier anymore, but something about just a contest, letting people decide what to name it. I don't know if that'll take too long or whatever, but it kind of gets the community involved a little bit. And then maybe the commission could vote on it or something. I don't know. If we can try to get the community involved in it, I think it's better, but I'm okay if people just want to name it. It's just a suggestion.
I like that idea, Tom. I think we could ask, on the town website, we put a little short request for ideas. Show them a map of the property, kind of give an update of what we've been doing.
We can share it with folks on Facebook. There's several Facebook groups in Upton that
Sustainable
that get
Upton.
involved.
Yep. Yeah, no, I think that's a good idea. I can write something up that we can submit to Sandy, I guess it would be, to post on the town website. So if that sounds good, I can work on that. And I think that was it. If there's anything else people would like to talk about.
You guys
That
want
was
to
the last
finish
agenda
up
item.
44 Hartford Ave, just the question of bounds back there. Don Johnson's property.
I like the idea of a couple bounds, but if, the commission doesn't share that, I'm okay with it too.
I think I think they need something for bounds.
It's actually
The only
it's
way we
pretty-
have of permanently letting people know where their boundary is.
it's a pretty narrow lot in the back there. I think you could do easily one bound in the center. I think it's like only 30 or 40 feet wide, and
That will be
cover it.
fine. One will be fine.
Yeah, I don't have any issues with that either.
Then they
I
have a
agree with-
line.
Oh yeah,
Okay,
where do you think the bound could go? Do you guys want the bound to go 30 foot back, or
Yes.
Yeah.
Unless that takes away all the, whatever makes best sense there, Mary.
well, it's not really usable down there. They
All
have
right.
the flat area, then they have the steep slope, and it's basically wild. 30 foot back would put it about 10 feet from the bottom of that slope, or a little more than that. So it would basically
Right.
say he can't expand anymore. No more
Right,
fill.
right,
Yeah,
yeah.
that would be my concern is that, just
I like that.
bringing in more fill. So one bound, I'm perfectly comfortable with that 30 feet away.
I like that.
Do we need to vote on this?
Sure, let's have a motion to authorize Mary to require one or more bounds to be installed at 44 Hartford Ave, as part of the request for determination filing.
Second,
So moved.
Nice.
Any discussion? Okay, hearing none, Mike, aye.
Tom, I.
Alan, I.
Sandy, I.
Chris, I.
Marcella, I.
Okay, thank you. Anything else?
You guys
Uh,
want to meet in person next meeting?
Oh, yeah.
I wouldn't.
Oh, I had
I
one
miss
other
you all
small
so
thing.
much.
I had one other thing. Mary, the turtle signs on Fowler are gone again?
All right, so there's one up, there's one gone. The one that's up is kind of near the golf course, and I guess there used to be one a little further up the street.
Yeah,
It's gone. Yep.
it's the
I did
second
email
time.
Dennis
Pardon?
about it. He said he was going to look into it. But do you think, did we buy them last time?
Well, actually, no, I think the DPW did. The first time we did, and they disappeared. And the second time, I think the DPW did, if I remember.
So people are stealing the turtle signs?
Yeah, they're very
Cute.
collectible, Tom.
Sickos,
I don't
sick
understand
people.
that.
Well,
We should take them
volunteer to
down
check.
after turtle migration.
anyone wants to check eBay and see if Upton signs are on eBay.
If we can buy a turtle sign.
Do they just need to be put up higher? I mean, are they easy to steal? Don't they have those special screws and stuff that the
We did
highway
not use
people
them when we
use?
put them up. We didn't use them when we put them up, but I would hope the DPW would, or maybe now they will. So,
Yeah, the one sign, everything's gone. Post sign, everything.
Oh, jeez.
really?
The other one is still there, but you can't. The turtle is just fading. I think someone thought it should be upgraded, but I think you can kind of still see it. But anyway, if DPW
Maybe-
wants to replace them, that'd be great.
Yeah.
Maybe Marcella can paint a turtle on there.
Yeah.
That's the artist in the group.
Are these collectible because they have that cute little picture of the turtle? Could we just have something that says turtle crossing with no cute little
Sure.
picture? Yeah, that
Sure,
might be.
if I were a teenager, I'd want one on my wall.
Well, I'd want one with a little turtle. I wouldn't care so much for the text. So, just something to think about.
Maybe we can put one of our trail cameras out there.
Yeah, and see them.
You mean the
get
one that
shot
was
at.
That'll get
vandalized?
stolen
Yeah.
too.
Yeah, the one
Yeah,
that got stolen.
That's happened as well.
Yeah,
All
actually,
right.
the
Well, I
guy.
just thought And if there's anything else, if
I have-
not, entertain
have
a
a
motion
comment.
to.
I have
oh,
a comment I'd like to make.
Sure, Bill.
Yeah, so at the first meeting in April, you were gonna be asked to hold a public hearing to review a new stormwater bylaw and new stormwater regulations. And these are substantially different from what we currently have. In fact, it's more a replacement than an amendment. So I just wanted to give you a heads up. You should be expecting to see the proposed bylaw and regulations, which were done by an engineering firm working for the DPW. And this is really just reflecting what the EPA currently requires.
So
Is the
it
commission
definitely
still the
speak-
permitting authority?
I believe you are still the stormwater authority. I think it's the defined term. Yes, but yes, I believe the Concom is still the authority.
We need to resign that commission.
Yeah, apparently.
Let the
in other communities-
DPW do it.
Yeah, that's going to say, other communities, the DPW does play a role in it.
Right.
I would rather have the commission still be involved.
Yeah, there's some value having us involved, I think.
But well, please, Bill, as soon as they're available, please circulate them to the commission.
Okay.
I agree with Mike to keep us involved.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Aye.
Mike,
Aye.
aye.
Hi.
Good night, everybody.
Thanks,
Bye.
folks.
Good night.
Have a good
Thanks,
night.
everyone.